No one wanted to go near the old Apache elder. As he lay beneath the desert sun, people quietly walked past, believing his story was over. But one cowboy stopped, sat beside him, and listened. With his final breath, the elder revealed a secret that had been hidden for decades. What the cowboy discovered next would change his life forever and leave an entire tribe speechless. The morning sun rose slowly over the wide desert, covering the land with warm shades of gold. Tall red cliffs stood quietly against the clear sky while a gentle breeze carried dust across the open valley. It was a peaceful day, yet an air of sadness rested over the Apache village. Near the edge of the camp, beneath the shade of an old cottonwood tree, an elderly Apache man lay on a carefully woven blanket. His name was Dakota. Time had marked his face with deep lines, and his silver hair reflected a lifetime of wisdom. For many years he had been a respected storyteller, guiding young people with lessons about courage, honesty, and respect. Now his voice had grown weak. Families walked quietly through the village as they completed their daily work. Some offered a polite glance toward the old man before continuing on their way. Others lowered their eyes, unsure of what to say. Dakota understood. He held no anger in his heart. Life had taught him that people often feared moments they could not change. A young boy carrying a basket of firewood paused for a moment. "Grandfather," he whispered, "is there anything you need?" Dakota smiled gently. "Only your kindness, my child. Never let it leave your heart." The boy nodded before returning to his family. As the morning passed, the village became busy with ordinary life. Horses grazed near the stream. Women prepared meals. Children laughed as they played between the lodges. Yet beneath the old tree, Dakota remained alone. Far beyond the village, a cowboy named Samuel Brooks guided his horse along a dusty trail. He was returning from a nearby trading post with supplies for his small ranch. Samuel was known throughout the valley as a quiet man who believed every person deserved respect, no matter where they came from. As he crossed a small ridge overlooking the village, he noticed something unusual. Most of the people were gathered around the center of the camp, but one figure rested alone beneath the distant tree. Samuel slowed his horse. He looked toward the quiet elder for several moments. Something about the scene did not feel right. Without fully understanding why, he gently turned his horse toward the village. The desert breeze stirred the branches above Dakota as he quietly watched the stranger approach. Neither man knew that this simple meeting would become the beginning of a story remembered for generations, proving that sometimes the greatest gift a person can offer is not wealth or strength, but the willingness to stop, listen, and care. Samuel guided his horse to the edge of the village and climbed down slowly. He removed his hat as a sign of respect and tied the reins to a nearby wooden post. Several villagers noticed the stranger, but no one stopped him. Instead of walking toward the busy center of the camp, Samuel made his way to the old cottonwood tree where Dakota rested. The elder opened his eyes and offered a gentle smile. "You have traveled a long road," he said softly. Samuel returned the smile. "So have you." For a moment, neither man spoke. The quiet was comfortable, broken only by the rustling leaves and the distant sound of children playing near the stream. Samuel sat on the ground beside the elder instead of standing over him. "My father always told me," Samuel said, "that everyone has a story worth hearing." Dakota looked at him with quiet appreciation. "Your father was a wise man." Samuel noticed a small wooden carving resting beside the elder's blanket. It was shaped like an eagle with its wings spread wide. The smooth surface showed that it had been held many times over the years. "It is beautiful," Samuel said. Dakota gently picked it up. "I carved this many winters ago," he replied. "The eagle reminds us to see beyond what is directly before our eyes." Samuel nodded, carefully listening to every word. Nearby, a few villagers glanced toward the two men. They were surprised that the cowboy had chosen to spend his time with the elder instead of continuing on his journey. Dakota looked toward the distant mountains. Many people believe that when a person grows old, they no longer have anything to offer. He paused before continuing. But sometimes the final pages of a story hold its greatest lesson. Samuel leaned forward with quiet interest. "I would be honored to hear it." The elder smiled once more, grateful that someone had chosen to listen. As the afternoon sun drifted across the valley, Neither man realized that the conversation beginning beneath the old cottonwood tree would soon uncover a forgotten chapter of history and inspire a new beginning for everyone who heard it. The afternoon sun began to settle behind the distant cliffs, filling the valley with a warm golden light. Samuel remained beside Dakota, listening with the same patience he had shown since arriving. There was no hurry in his heart, only respect for the elder's quiet words. Dakota carefully held the small wooden eagle in his hands. "There is something I have carried for many years," he said softly. "Very few people know about it." Samuel stayed silent, allowing the elder to continue. "Long ago, before this village stood here, my father asked me to protect something that did not belong to one person. He said it belonged to every generation that would come after us." The elder slowly reached beneath his blanket and removed a small leather pouch. Though worn with age, it had been carefully cared for over many years. He placed it gently into Samuel's hands. "Open it." Inside was a neatly folded piece of buckskin. Drawn across its surface was an old map showing hills, rivers, and a large cottonwood tree marked with a simple eagle symbol. Samuel looked at the drawing with curiosity. "What does it lead to?" he asked. Dakota smiled. "It leads to a place where our ancestors gathered during times of peace. They planted a grove of fruit trees beside a spring that never ran dry. It was meant to remind future generations that sharing brings people together." Samuel looked back at the map, realizing it was far more than directions to a forgotten place. It was a message of hope. Dakota gently closed Samuel's hand around the pouch. "I am giving it to you because you stopped to listen when no one else did." As the evening breeze moved through the cottonwood branches, Samuel understood that the elder had trusted him with a legacy that could unite people once again, if he proved worthy of the responsibility. The next morning, the first light of dawn spread across the valley as Samuel prepared his horse for the journey. Before leaving, he returned to the cottonwood tree to see Dakota. The elder was awake, watching the sunrise with peaceful eyes. Samuel carefully held the leather pouch. "I will protect this," he said, "and I will honor the trust you have placed in me." Dakota smiled warmly. "I never hoped for someone who was the strongest. I hoped for someone who would choose kindness before pride." Samuel nodded. "I will remember your words." With that, he climbed into the saddle and followed the markings on the old map. The trail led him across rolling hills, through narrow canyons, and into a quiet valley where very few travelers had ever gone. Hours later, he reached a large cottonwood tree that matched the drawing on the map. Nearby, he heard the gentle sound of flowing water. He guided his horse toward the spring. Clear water flowed steadily from between smooth rocks, just as Dakota had described. Around it stood several old fruit trees. Though they had not been cared for in many years, they were still alive, their branches covered with green leaves and small fruit. Samuel stepped down from his horse and looked around in quiet amazement. The place was peaceful. It felt untouched by time. He understood that this hidden grove had never been about riches or treasure. It was a symbol of hope, reminding people that nature's gifts were meant to be shared, not kept for one person alone. Samuel filled a small bottle with fresh spring water and picked a few ripe apples from the nearest tree. As he began the journey back to the village, he knew he was carrying more than water and fruit. He was carrying proof that Dakota's final story was true, and that the elder's greatest gift would soon bring people together in a way no one had expected. By the time Samuel returned to the village, the afternoon sun was beginning to set. The people gathered quietly as he placed the fresh apples and the bottle of clear spring water before them. "There is a hidden grove beyond the hills," he said. "It still stands, just as Dakota remembered." The villagers looked at one another with surprise. Some of the elders recognized the symbols drawn on the old map and realized that the forgotten place had once been a meeting ground where families shared food, stories, and friendship. The chief stepped forward and bowed his head. "Dakota's greatest gift was not the map," he said. "It was the lesson that kindness grows stronger when it is shared." When Samuel walked to the old cottonwood tree, he found Dakota resting peacefully, a gentle smile still on his face. It was as though he knew his final wish had been fulfilled. In the weeks that followed, families returned to care for the hidden grove together. They planted new trees, repaired the walking paths, and welcomed every visitor with open hearts. Samuel often visited the peaceful valley, not because it held a secret, but because it reminded him of one simple truth. Sometimes the most important thing a person can do is stop, listen, and show kindness. Those small moments can leave a legacy that lives on for generations. As the sun disappeared beyond the desert hills, Dakota's story became more than a memory. It became a reminder that every person has a story worth hearing, and that taking the time to listen can change lives in ways we never expect. Samuel did not become a hero because he was the strongest. He became one because he chose compassion when others walked away. Thank you for watching this story to the very end. We hope it reminded you that kindness, respect, and understanding can create a legacy that lasts for generations. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more original Western frontier stories filled with courage, hope, unforgettable journeys, and inspiring lessons from the Old West. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next adventure. Leave a comment below. What do you think was Dakota's greatest gift, the hidden map or the wisdom he shared with Samuel? We'd love to hear your thoughts. If this story touched your heart, share it with your friends and family so its message of compassion and humanity can inspire others. Until our next journey across the frontier, thank you for watching. Take care, stay kind, and we'll see you in the next story.